We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit.
If you'd like to learn more how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com.
That's right, guys. Today, top secrets from fastest digital growth agency owner.
Boom, boom, boom.
What? And they come from the other side of the world, these secrets.
Yes, that's why we are live with you here, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But for them, it's a day ahead. So again, time traveling. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Make sure to follow us on social media at BeastBrosco.
That's right, guys. And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you will, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review.
All right. So today we're going all across the world once again. Where the sun shines bright, there are 3 times as many sheep as people.
We'll have to confirm that one later.
And the average local person drinks 83 liters of beer per year.
Time to move.
Today's guest is a legend from the land down under, Australia.
That's right. Thanks to our previous guest, Anthony G. Murphy, our self-proclaimed Australian brother, we have the chance to talk to possibly the business king of Australia. He founded the fastest growing fitness franchise at his time, exploding to 35 locations within the first 6 months of operations. That's insane. That's insane. And currently the fastest digital growth agency, named 2018 Best Social Media Agency of the Year, and so many others awards just to mention. Guys, this is just absolutely insane.
He is a go-to business expert when it comes to fast and effective business growth, having invested over $2 million personally in paid advertising, and his company now managing millions of dollars a year in advertising spend for his clients in over 30 industries. Simply put, a badass.
That's right. Please welcome strategic master, Australia's favorite businessman, and the guy you need to go to if you want some business growth, Mr. Brett Campbell!
Woo!
Brett, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Boys, absolute pleasure to be here. What an astronomical intro.
That's Fonzie's skill that is being developed in the last few months. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and again, super honored to have you here all the way from Australia. Thank you for making the time and coming onto the show.
Mate, absolute pleasure. Really looking forward to talking to you guys already in the first, let's call it 9 minutes that I've had the privilege of experiencing you both. You have very palpable energy, so I'm very happy to share.
Thank you. This is only like 9 coffees down on today's Monday, which is totally okay.
Yeah.
I did see a video of yours a little bit earlier where you self-confessed that you love Mother and you love the Red Bull, and you're a self-confessed let's call it energy drinking connoisseur. We need to talk about that because there's other ways to create the energy, my friend.
There we go. Perfect. I am so down to have that conversation. Please. I know Fonzie is very excited for that. So.
I'm excited for that. I've been getting on his back. I'm like, you got to stop with those.
That's okay. So Brett, thank you. I think that will be like towards the end of the day. I think like that's gonna be like my own value point.
That can be the hook to the end,
The hook to the end. So Brett, why don't you share with us and with the audience, who are you? Like, how did everything started? Because obviously, your achievements are massive, are amazing, and we would like to know how this everything started, and now how you're able to help thousands, if not millions, of people, like with everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the inception of it all really started, and I think it's important to frame this because when I sort of share this, it makes a lot of sense to entrepreneurs out there. I see you've got sort of like the Iron Man poster there behind you, and I see entrepreneurs as, sort of superheroes. They have these different gifts that most people don't understand. Some people actually don't see them as a gift. They see them as a Achilles heel, so to speak, and something that's not so great. But for me, I was that kid who always grew up feeling different. I always always had this internal drive for something, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew I loved solving problems, and that's sort of where it started. I love solving problems, so I'd create a lot of problems for myself because then I could solve them.
I love
Again,
that.
sometimes it can be a superpower, but it can also be Achilles' heel, right? But I grew up in a very low socioeconomic area, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity around me. The internet really hadn't even started then or was taken. So, you know, I was the kid that would be door knocking up and down streets. So I'd be knocking on doors going, "Hi, my name's Brett Campbell. You got any jobs for me? Hi, my name's Brett Campbell. You got any jobs for me?" Wow. And I was doing that because I wanted to earn enough $2 coins possible. And the reason being was I wanted $1 worth of jet plane lollies. So my favorite lolly, right? You'd call them a sweet. There's our first translation.
There you go.
And I wanted 5 20-cent pieces so I could play Street Fighter, the arcade game, because I knew I could clock the entire game with 5 20-cent pieces. So that was my vision back then of when I was a young kid, you know, 11 years old, door knocking to generate money. That was the problem I was solving, was my lollies and my Street Fighter addiction. As I grew up, though, I always knew that I was never wanted to settle for trading time for money. You know, whenever I walked into any job, even like an after school job, I was like, how do I own this place? How do I own this? And that was always my mentality. And it took, literally, we could fast forward several years. You know, I got kicked out of high school, fell into an apprenticeship. I was a cabinet maker by trade. I had a job, right? So I know what it's like to work for someone. But from day one, I walked into that factory again. I said, how do I own this whole entire factory?
Yeah.
And it was my quest. It was my quest to, but I didn't know what that was, right? It was just like, why do I feel like I need to own it? Why can't I just be happy and satisfied working here? I just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I loved building and I loved creating, and it literally, my entrepreneurial journey really kicked off when I was, let's call it 23 years old. And it took me to leave New Zealand, where I grew up, jump on an airplane with my golf clubs and a suitcase to start a brand new life in Gold Coast, Australia, here where I am right now, and I have been for the last 14 years. My entrepreneurial journey started in the fitness space. So I became a personal trainer, and again, I was trapped into this trading time for money, and I wanted to, I was the guy that would be driving past all these big mansions and going, I want to go and knock on their door and ask what they do. Because I was like, why do they get one of those big houses and I don't? Like, what do they know that I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And it was my first ever sort of exposure to a person who said the people who own those type of properties and drive the real nice cars, they don't trade time for money. And I was like, oof. So I was trading time for money as a personal trainer. I was still I was still charging $80, $90, $100 an hour for a PT session, but I was still capped.
Yep.
Right. Give me 40 sessions a week. I'm still only going to make $4,000 a week. And that just, for me, I was like, I still feel, and it wasn't always just monetary driven, but I was like, I could do so much more.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where I started. I'm like, okay, I read the book, The E-Myth, and they talk about, the entrepreneur, the manager and the technician. I was like, well, I'm in technician mode, but I'm definitely the entrepreneur. That was sort of my first call to arms, where I realized I had traits of someone like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I've got to do something about this. And we started the quest. And at the time, we built the fastest growing fitness company in Australia. And it's essentially almost pioneered the whole online, online products and started that at the very, very starting. This was before Instagram even was around. And, selling products and services online for years. And that's sort of where I cut my teeth. I became obsessively, and I'll write my own ticket here, but I became obsessively good about marketing, because when I uncovered that marketing was the catalyst to getting your message and product and service in front of the right people, I took it upon myself to know and learn everything that I possibly could about marketing. And marketing has nothing to do with landing pages or Facebook ads. It has everything to do with psychology, influence, persuasion, and what makes someone do what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll pause there, or I could keep going for the rest of the session. But
this is amazing because you mentioned at the beginning of your story that you were addicted to solving problems. That even if you had no problems, you were finding those or making those problems to then solve it. And I think a lot of people that start in this entrepreneurial journey might feel that way. I know we did. I remember when we were 13 and 10, we would go buy these soccer jerseys maybe let's say $5, and then we'll go back to our school and sell it at $25, $30, right? We're like, okay, we had like no need to do this, but we're still doing it. And it's that intangible feeling that you have in there. So I found wonderful that from the very beginning, you did not ignore that feeling and you took action, and you're like, hey, that's where I want to be. Let me ask that person, like, how do they get there? So then I can learn, and then I can do anything that I need to do to get there. So I think that was a great point, especially for those listening, not just on the content side, but on the entrepreneurial, the general thing. Like, if we want to get to some point, why don't we go ahead and ask the people that are already there? You know, we can later talk about coaching and all the stuff, how to get there. So it's so wonderful that you got that from the very start.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. And something that I love is the how do I own this mentality, if I'm being honest. You know, I think it does relate to somewhat like today's culture of like hustle, but at the same time is like ambitious, right? It's straight ambitious. And I think people sometimes are afraid of being that ambitious. They're afraid of like telling themselves, you know, asking themselves those questions, right? And at the end of the day, your life is dictated by the questions that you ask yourself. So I found that amazing. Do you still, I mean, now you own these businesses, right? But like, do you still have that? Do you ask yourself those same questions still nowadays?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, and I think where that comes from is I always expect the best from me, right? As I grew up, it came across as being very competitive and always wanted to win, right? That's what it sort of came across as I was growing up. But as I got older and I started to realize and uncover what it really was for me, was I just always wanted to be the best that I could possibly be, right? So I was comparing myself to others in a way where I was like, for example, right now even, right, we've got a ping pong table in our office and so forth. And, you know, I'm like, if I can't be number one on the top of the table, right, I need to figure out how to beat or get up there. If it's important to me, right? It doesn't mean I'm walking through life going, I want to be better than everyone. But I look and I go, I like ping pong. I feel that I should be able to learn the tricks and the traits and what's required to actually be the best that I can be. But I love being beaten by other people. That's the other part of it. Right, people used to say to me that, oh, you hate losing. I'm like, no, I actually really like losing because it uncovers for me something that I'm missing. Yeah. And that's the fastest way for growth, right? Is like I looked at it literally. I've been second on the table for the first year of having this office, right? My business partner would always beat me. He'd always be beating me. And I'm like, I've got to figure out where I'm losing. Like I broke it down. I'm like, okay, what shots do I generally win on him, and where does he beat me? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a lot more of that, and I'm going to be, you know, training. Well, not so much training because it was only playing on the table, right? I didn't go and get lessons.
Doing more reps.
Bet him. You know, I've recently beaten him anyway. But if I didn't, I probably would have gone and got lessons and go, you know what? This is for me to show me that I can actually achieve it. Yeah. Right. But you got to pick poisons. Right. You know, I'm not doing that in every single aspect of my life, but I think having that relentless drive to figure something out is absolutely imperative for anyone looking for success in any area of life.
Yeah, I think that's such an important lesson, right? Because we're always taught, or at least where we came from, right, that I don't think it was like explained to us where it's like, okay, if you lose, that's a positive thing. Like nobody talks about that. Nobody teaches you that when you're growing up, right? Is whenever you get to a point where like you're trying to achieve success, right? And then you invest in these coaches, that's when they tell you that because they lived it from experience. So this is a big question, right? And maybe not on the, maybe we could dive in or maybe not, but the fact is like why we're not teaching the little ones, right? That losing is such a good thing. It's such a good teacher, especially from the beginning, but because then the brain will be rewired, right? And then you're going to see everything as a great opportunity, right? And we see this in with content and the clients that we have and the people that we produce their content, they want immediate results, right? And you probably have a lot of experience with this, with running all the agencies, but it's like immediate. Well, we need to test the message. We need to, be consistent. We need to be present. We need to see what's happening. Are they responding to it? Are they not responding to it? Yeah. And then from there, take it as a winning opportunity and then move forward because it can only get better. So thank you for sharing that story. And we definitely need a ping pong table here. Yeah. Fonzie's going to be learning a lot.
We actually had a ping pong table at the house and I could never beat my dad. I'm still sour about it. But
do you know what the coolest thing though in this office is?
Is it the ping pong table?
It's not the ping pong table. I'm looking straight through our studio right here, right now, and I'm looking at it, and it's a Street Fighter 2 arcade.
Oh, that is so cool.
When we go visit, we're going to have to...
I don't have to pay 20 cents to play it now. I've got unlimited lives.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, that's amazing. That is so cool. Going off of what my brother was saying about the love losing, right? Like, I love the intention behind it, and I want people to understand this is like, you just don't lose and then move on to the next thing or lose and then just try to keep winning. You actually give it some thought and say, okay, what am I doing wrong here? How can I improve? And I think a lot of people miss that step even when they know failure is a good thing. I think a lot of people actually miss the step of sitting down and thinking, okay, what is the other person doing? Or what are they doing that's making them so successful?
Yeah.
And that maybe I can improve on, right? So
there's a learning required around learning how to lose. You need to learn how to win as well. You need there's a way, and that to your question originally was why isn't this being taught to youngsters? It's because most people the general public don't know how to teach people how to lose. Because most people go, it's okay, you're supposed to learn from this. We'll get it next time. It's like, what we're going to do is we're going to create a culture where people are just happy to give up because it's like, oh, well, if I lose, it's a lesson. But it's like, but can you break it back down and look at ways on how you could improve your path forward? Right. Yeah. So for example, ping pong table. It's like, okay, I know that when I hit it to the right-hand side of the table, he's going to mess up 6 out of 10 of those. Right. And how do I know that? Because I count.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for ways on what's right. And then I was like, okay, I lose like 50% of the serves. So I'm like, if I could just improve 2 or 3 of those serves, I've come so close to winning at times, but if I could just improve that by 20, 30% consistently, I'm going to become unbeatable because I'm working on the areas that I know are going to have the most improvement.
Yeah.
Right? So it's sometimes you change 1 or 2 things about an entire situation and it can change the entire outcome. You don't need to go and change 50 things.
Yeah. I love it. I wanna play devil's advocate here a little bit because I can already tell some listeners like, okay, well, it's ping pong table. How crazy are you that you're counting every single hit and you're doing you're being so obsessive over this little thing, right? But what's your answer to that? I think I have my own answer and I think I'm gonna be on your side, right?
I think it's like kind of like how you do.
That's good.
Oh, sorry.
I don't care who's on my side or not, because here's the other part: is am I being obsessive about ping pong? Yes, in this case I am, because I want to beat this person. Simple as that. I decided that I'd like to beat this person, so I'm going to do what I have to do to beat them. I don't do it with anyone else in the business. It's just this one person, because I set the goal and I'm like, now I'm going to go for it. Right? There's a lot of other things that I do in life that I don't ever put that sort of emphasis on.
Yeah.
But my point there is, if there is something that you actually do want to achieve, you need to actually be very intentional about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you need a formula to be able to break it down. So if you don't break it down, what are you going to improve? I'll just say it's ping pong. What are you going to improve? Just continue doing the same shit, same hit every time, or you're not going to get much better. You might get better at that hit.
Yeah.
But you're actually giving them the ability to actually return it back even better, and there's no change in your game. So yeah, I'm being obsessive about that because I decided to be, and guess what? I'm allowed to.
For the record, we're like 100% with you, just so you know, because we're like, why are you guys so obsessive about the show, about the way that you guys do it, is because that's our ping pong table, right? That's why we're obsessive. We enjoy this process. We want to get better at it every single day, no matter where we sit. So thank you for bringing that home.
Here's what I'd say to a person, though, who might be sitting there thinking that. Let's just say someone is sitting there going, oh my God, why are you so obsessed about that? My question would be, why are you so obsessed about me being obsessed?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take that energy into looking for the positive of this lesson right? Assuming someone's thinking that.
Yep.
Look for the positive and then go, what could you draw out of that? Because let's be honest, we could say something, and we're going to say a lot of things on this podcast, okay? You could sit there and pick apart anything that I say or you say, and you can look at a negative on all of it, okay?
100%.
You could also do the same on the positive side and go, okay, how do I pick that apart and look for the positive? We live in such a crazy world where most people, actually, let me take that back. I don't know if it's most people. The people who are making the most noise out there online are looking for let's pick something apart and pull it apart and find the negative, right? Where if you actually did the opposite and pulled it apart and go, oh, wow, what could I learn about this crazy dude from Australia talking about ping pong on how he goes about achieving and beating and being on the top of the table of ping pong, right? Which has not going to change my life, but it's going to make me feel good for a few moments, and it did, right?
Yeah.
So look for the positives versus the negatives. If you are someone and you literally did sit there and go, oh my God, this guy's way too obsessive about it, it's like, because you're looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like perspective has been such a huge topic in our life in the last month. I mean,
that's 4 months.
Yeah, in the last 4 months, especially we've always been pretty positive and trying to learn, but especially in the last 4 months, we've been tested in our business, right, with the situation, what happened. And instead of dwelling and, getting all blaming in external sources, we're like, you know what? Now we got all this time. What are we going to do? Well, let's start this awesome show. And I mean, we managed to actually grow our team, get more clients. And it was because of that, what you're saying right now, which was looking at the positive aspects of situations and everything. So definitely thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think that's a topic that has been coming up, and we often talk about it takes the same amount of energy focusing on those negatives and the same amount of energy of focusing on the positives and making progress and creating that momentum that's going to get you to even bigger things, right?
Let me challenge it, right? It doesn't take the same amount of energy. It's less energy to look at the positive, because look at when you put yourself into a negative mindset, right? It takes a lot of energy, right? You tell me, when you're having a day and you're looking at something negative, it takes every little bit of energy out of your body, right? Not only at a mental level, but a biochemical, like a chemical level.
Yes.
Right? If you're stressing and you've got anxiety, you're releasing cortisol into your body. Cortisol is a catabolic, like it's not a good hormone. It's not good to be running through your body. So it actually takes way more energy to be negative than it does to be positive.
Yeah.
Right? So it's even more advantageous to be positive.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'll take that challenge every day.
Yeah, I think like now that you're putting it in those ways and I'm thinking about it, I never thought about it that way, but it's like being on this positive mindset, right? It actually it feels like you build energy. Actually, you start gaining momentum, and there's like, all right, like let me just keep going. I want to feel more of these, and then negativity is just draining.
Yeah. Hey, Brett, I wanna ask you, like, in your journey, right? Like from that mentality that you had as a kid, growing up, doing on your personal training business, expanding it, the 35 locations, owning different businesses. What has been some of the biggest challenges or like biggest setbacks, right? That you might have thought about, like, okay, this is it. I'm done. Like, I'm gonna go try something different. Do you ever think that, or in your mind you were always like, no, I'm gonna move forward no matter what?
I'm always going to move forward no matter what, but it doesn't mean it's going to be on, like, I'm also not stupid. And what I mean by that is, if something isn't working, I'm not going to bang my head against the door too many times until I realize that I might need to pivot. I mean, there's been a number of things that I've started and, with inside organizations. Like, I've never really had an ultimate failure when people go, what's the biggest failure you've ever had? I've just had lots of little ones.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can generally, I won't stay in for something too long for it to become an ultimate failure, or I have a pretty good risk versus reward way of looking at certain things, and yes, I take risks, but generally they're quite calculated in essence, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I'm always going to be moving forward. In what direction? It's going to be north. But it could be northeast, right? It could be a little bit off here, but I'm always going to be moving forward in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. How do you identify those pivot moments, right? Because a lot of people are like, okay, you know, maybe if I try one more time, maybe if I try one more thing, like it's right there. I can feel it. How do you identify that moment where you need to pivot?
Yeah, so I guess for me, a big pivot was in the fitness industry, for example. Not only we had a franchise, we actually had a fitness college, so we were certifying people to become trainers. And that business itself, you know, that had potential. We were probably going to do, you know, easily 5 mil in rev for that in the coming year. And some regulations changed in the industry, right? Regulations changed, which would require us to totally change our entire business model. I made a fairly quick decision that we didn't want to go down that route, and I literally closed that part of the business, right? It was as simple as that. I didn't, you know, I mean, there was a few conversations around it, but it was done fairly quickly. And I took the emotion out of it and looked at it from a, you know, direction perspective, and that was the best outcome at that time. Now, looking back at it, could I have done a number of different things? And I absolutely could have, but, you know, there's no point in me looking back at it now with the intelligence that I have now, because I wasn't there and it's already happened. And why would I entertain that conversation with myself?
Yeah. Love it. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've heard of Garrett White, but he put up this massive event. I think at the time he was paying about 600 grand. And then, you know, right before the event happened, he went ahead and cancel. Call everybody, the team. Is like, hey guys, we're not doing this. This is not aligning to our company values. It's not what it is. He refund the entire money to all the attendees, and that's it. And pivoted, and you know, now he is the big guy that he is, right? Which is amazing, right? It takes a lot to recognize that. Maybe not, but for a lot of people, it might be for the first time. So I love the psychology of, like, I'm always moving north if it's east a little bit, but I'm always like making progress, and, you know, little fails and learning along the way, and always elevating, you know, the results that I'm getting.
I think everybody has seen that picture that is like the life of an entrepreneur, that is like what you imagine that is going to be like a straight line, and it's like reality, and it's like just all over the place, but you're still moving forward, right? So I relate it to what you just said. And talking about pivoting.
I also don't think, and I just want to sort of put out some challenging thoughts to that, is entrepreneurs have very different experiences, because there's different levels of entrepreneurs, I truly feel. And the people that are, because I've never had a squiggle thing of an entrepreneur. Like I personally have not had a journey like that, right? So I can't speak to that. I can understand, because I've coached and mentored and advised a lot of business owners, and I've been able to identify the ones who sort of do have that squiggle effect, right? The background twisting, turning, and then sort of moving forward. And the people who are in that state, that's because they're confused and they don't know what they're actually wanting to do, right? A lot of entrepreneurs that I know, and successful ones, don't have that journey either, where it's a squiggle and a roundabout and this and that and backwards and all and around, because they're clear on where they want to move towards. Right? It's like sending a pack of entrepreneurs out into the forest and dumping them out there and go, get your way back home, right? You send them all off, and they're going to go off in all directions, right? But the ones who actually know and they can follow and read the sun, and they're going here and they're actually plotting a path, they're not going to have that experience, right? So there's so many people out there right now in the, let's call it, entrepreneur world, who in my view are actually not entrepreneurs, right? They're people who are seeing an opportunity, and don't get me wrong, the opportunities we have with the ability to reach people online and create and build other things, right? Is absolutely unbelievable, right? So of course this is going to happen, but it's people are being equipped, or not equipped, they're being unequipped, but they've been given the technologies to go out there and try and do stuff, and they think because they see their mate who created an e-com business and he put a screenshot up of him making $15,000 in one day, and they're like, hey, if you want the secrets to e-com, I'll teach you how to build an e-com business. And they're like, oh, that's what I need to do an e-com business. But they're in love with the $15,000 a day, right? That's all they're in love with, not the e-com business itself. No wonder they're going back and around and forward and this and up and down, because they're jumping from one lily pad to another lily pad. They're just jumping to the one that vibrates the most with the most energy. And then when the energy dies off in that, they're like, okay, I need to find another one. So I think a cure to a lot of entrepreneurial craziness out there is that before you can get an LLC or you can start a business, I think you need to go through a pre-screening application to actually uncover if you know what the fuck you're wanting to do. Right? Seriously, I really believe that there has to be some formulation out there that can do that. Like, not everyone should just be able to go and create a PTY, LTD, or LLC company and call themselves a business. Because most people are better off being the number 2, 3, 4, 5 employee at a company, you know, driven by someone who's crazy enough to be thinking big in this, but they need you more than, you know, you probably need them.
Yeah.
So it's finding the stability in the journey, because I think what happens is people coming into the industry, they're like, so this is how an entrepreneur journey is. So they've already expected that I'm going to go up, down, left, right, all around and everything. But it's like, it doesn't have to be that hard, and nor should it be.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be. So we're setting the wrong perspective up for them by going, I agree with this, right?
Wow.
Food for thought.
No, thank you for...
I'm not gonna have dinner tonight. Just the fact that this amazing. I ate dinner with this food for thought today. That's it.
I love the fact that you're, challenging the ideas.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the times the conversations go very with like-minded people, they go in one direction a lot of the times, right? And I think these are the moments when actually, especially we right now, we're experiencing it and we get to learn the most. So thank you so much for that. And as you were talking now about it, I was literally reliving like my past where we didn't know what we wanted. Literally, we were in that place, right? And we were just jumping one place, shiny object syndrome. We're like, what are we looking for? And so, I mean, thank you so much, because now finally we got clarity. We know where we're going. We know where we want to go. And we have seen the results of actually focusing in one thing and staying in contact instead of just like bouncing all over the place.
Yeah. So I remember.
Well, do you know why I feel I can speak to that? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep. So the reason why I feel I can speak to that, and the only reason I speak to that, and I think this is even a far more important distinction, right? Because you can hear stuff from anyone. It's, that sounds great. Cool. You've listened to someone else say this, or you've read a book and you've got some intelligence. Now you're sharing it. The only reason I can speak to that is I was the guy jumping from a lily pad to a lily pad to another lily pad. So I get it. I get it viscerally because I've experienced it, right?
Yeah.
You think of anything in the online marketing game, I've probably done it or I've tried it, right? When the WordPress blogs came out real early, I was building blogs. I've had a website company. I had an affiliate marketing business that I was running, like anything. I was like, okay, now that is it. I need to create subscription membership sites. Okay, cool. Got to get in and do that. So I was jumping from one thing to another, right? I went to one live event, and this will give you an insight. And this is why I'm so passionate about sharing these type of conversations, because entrepreneurs, once they sort of hear it, right, it's the once you've heard it, you can't deny it, right? When my mum told me when I was a kid, don't touch the electric fence, and I was like, why? So I touched the electric fence. I was like, I'll never touch an electric fence. I had to experience it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential entrepreneurs out there, and I put myself in the shoes, because I was one walking through the wilderness. I had no support. I had no mentorship in the early days because I wasn't in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to a live event, and it was one of those multi-speaker events where everyone sells a product at the end, right? The first speaker was selling how to flip properties. So how do you buy properties and sell them? I'm like, cool. I signed up to his product. The next speaker was a share trader, like how to make money on the stock market. I signed up to his product. The next was an online internet marketer. I was like, I'm going to be an internet marketer as well. I did that. And then the fourth speaker was some lady selling legal documents that you could have forever. And I thought that'd be a good idea as well. I purchased every program. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Best customer ever for a conference.
Well, I wasn't, because here's what happened, right? I got buyer's remorse like instantly, and I refunded everything, and I didn't do anything, right? So I was so built up with excitement that when it got to the point of what am I actually going to do, I was so frozen with fear that I just abandoned everything.
Wow.
Right? And that was because I was just running around, my head cut off, trying to find a home Had no idea.
So
Right.
how do you find home?
Perfect. Good answer. Is finding what really, like, what's that thing that you do for free for the rest of your life? That's a really good starting point. Okay. What's that thing you do for free for the rest of your life? So I've got another company called Unleash Your Greatness, which is all in the personal development, self-help, self-improvement arena, which is the thing that I love the most out of any single thing that I do on this planet because it has the biggest impact, right?
Yeah.
But I talk about the concept. The starting point is what's that thing that you do for free for the rest of your life? Okay. And then you need to look at and you need to work around and go, well, how could I potentially build something out of that could actually generate revenue? That's a starting point. Most people right now, they'll ask that question, they'll go, so let me ask you guys, okay, what would you do for free for the rest of your life? If money was taken care of and I gave you all the money you needed, but you still had to serve and you still had to do something, what would you be doing every day?
Okay. Do you want me to give my answer first?
Yeah, you go first.
So I think we found our passion in this show, that, communicating with people around the world, right? And I'm not just saying it because of the show, but because we've had such a blast doing this. Because we have been naturally outgoing. Like we always thought that we were gonna be in front of the camera. At least for me, that's part of it. And in the last 4 months, we were able to pivot to build a business around that. So I really resonate with that question that you asked us at the very beginning. Because we had no direction before, we started this show as a shift in perspective, thinking it was gonna get us out of that funk a little bit, and then we figured out how to continue the business while doing this, and this is a priority for us. So I think we just had a blast. That's part one of the answer. Part two of the answer, I don't think we found the bigger thing.
Yeah, and that was going to be my answer. I think we are on the right path. Me personally, I'm not 100% sure. You know, like we grew up playing soccer. I'm going to call it football, real football. We grew up playing football, and that's what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives, right? And then things changed. We didn't make it professionally, and I think I've been in a self-discovery path ever since. But like my brother said, is like the part that I enjoy the most is connecting with people, building community, and building these relationships, right? So we actually started a new segment literally just to talk to new people called Content Bites, and we do it now daily on Instagram, and we just hit people up, say, hey, you want to hop in here and have a conversation about, entrepreneurship, content, and it's literally like the most rewarding part of my day.
So that's a starting point, right?
Yep.
It's like, how do you work around that? So it's like, what would you do for free for the rest of your life? And look, the reality is you might actually have to go to a job and earn money until you can figure something out. Or maybe it's something that you do outside of working hours, right? But I tell you that there are ways on how you can start to orchestrate and build your own life where most people don't think like that. And I totally understand as well, because I could turn anything into a business, right? That's just how I'm wired and my brain thinks, and that's what excites me. But I understand the majority of the population aren't like that, right? But you can go and work for companies that deliver what it is that you would like to do, right? There's probably even more opportunities for you to go and find a job somewhere doing what it is that you'd love to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a big question, and it really, I generally spend half a day breaking it down because there's different variations and levels to it all, and you might not end up at that thing because you might actually uncover that there's something else. And you just said that a little bit earlier, you're on a journey, right? Because you don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life, for the actual rest of your life. But right now, based off what you know and to be true and how you feel and what gets you excited and what amplifies you and what would you do for free out of the way, what would you actually pay to actually have to do?
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, podcasting, talking, sharing, that's what I love. I love doing it. I also love being an advisor to other entrepreneurs because I know I've got strategic wealth that could go in to go, hey, what about this? What about that? And I love it, and it lights me up, right? Yet I've got multiple businesses that do all the tactical things underneath all of that.
Yeah.
But it's taken years to be able to build and grow and get to that sort of level, right?
Yeah.
So it's uncovering the thing, the actual deliverable that you love. And if it's talking, right, that's all it needs to be to start with. It's like talking. Okay, you might want to do podcasts. You might want to do a radio show. You might want to do live television show. I mean, we've got all these opportunities to be able to do that. And if you're any good, here's the other part. You have to be good at it, right? If you want to make money from it.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone can create their own podcast, but if you're not good and you don't know how to interview or you don't have good guests on the show, it's not really going to get listened to because there's hundreds of thousands of other podcasts out there. So you actually have to still be good at it.
Yep.
Right?
And then we go back to the ping pong table story, right? Like, hey, I get out this episode. It's not performing how I want. Okay, what happened? Are we tracking? Are we promoting? We're not promoting. Hey, let's go back. What's the guests we're bringing? Yeah. Are they guests that we can actually help them promote or whatever, right? Like the ping pong principle. We're going to call that the ping pong principle and how you can.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the strategic mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so for the listeners here, we actually send a form to the guest, right? And one is like, what is your superpower? And Brett's here superpower was literally strategy.
That's it.
And I loved it. I was like, dude, like this is so cool, right? And listening talks about the ping pong story and what you're doing to help people, right? These questions that you're asking, like it makes me realize the strategy mindset that you have, right? How you see everything kind of like from above. And you're able to tell, okay, these are the pieces that I need to move. And honestly, when it comes to this, what we're doing right now, the podcast, that's actually how we've been able to operate. Now that I look at it, in the other business that we had, we never did that. But with this, we're like, okay, what are the pieces that we need to do? What is the marketing that we need to do around this? And how can we move? How can we promote? How much time? What are the processes that we need to do for all this? Yeah. So that's pretty cool to actually notice that we never did that with the other things we started.
We had a story where like a few years back we started a screen printing company, right? Because we're chasing that quick money. Hey, we saw some opportunity in there with some fitness studios that we were working at the time, and we did. And great experience, great learning experience, but we learn our lesson that if you do not enjoy the process, that might not be the thing that you want to do, right? And typical story where it's like, is in the garage, we bought this machine, we got, our roommate was in debt because of the machine, so relationships got a little messy. Then we didn't want to print the shirts because we're coming from our regular jobs at 9 p.m. at night, and then we had to print shirts till 3 a.m. in the morning. We did not love the process, right? That's not our passion. And we learned really quickly that we had to get out of that. And we did. And from that moment on, that lesson has carried on. So everything that we do, we're like, are we really enjoying executing on this, right? And if we're not, and the payout or the benefit of helping more people and creating this community is big enough, how can we find somebody that can help us there? And that's why the show has become that thing for us, because we're like, this is amazing. Not just the value for the audience, but the amazing connections that we're making, the guests that we're having, the relationships that we're building. And on the back end, okay, how can we support the production of the show? How can we like bring food home? And so we started asking those questions, and then processes started to, form together and shape into this thing that we're doing now.
Absolutely. And the thing that I'll throw on there is a little bit of topping and some advice that once I heard it, I was like, I can't take it back. It's one of those things, I love seeking out knowledge and wisdom and philosophies, because once you sort of hear it and you can decipher it and you break it through and you're like, oh, that's a total different way of looking at everything now. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is one of the key predicates to success, is being able to look at something from a different perspective and then uncovering a different potential path, right?
Oh no, Brett, we're losing you. We're losing the connection.
Right? Don't think how, think who.
Wait.
Don't think how, think who.
Oh, okay.
I think he just dropped the mic because it was such a good...
No, I think it's cutting up.
Pause there.
Yeah,
that's right. I don't like that.
Yeah, I cut off for a little bit.
I think the internet threw the... Yep, that's right. I got a nice freeze frame on Facebook, so everyone will be having a good look at that face. What I was saying was that ability to think, not how do I do it, but who, right? Who can do it for me? Who can I get to do it for me? That's how you start scaling in all areas of your life.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm trying to figure out how do I beat, how do I get on the top of the table here at ping pong, right? I could have just gone, who can help me? Who's the person that I could go and hire and teach me in probably 60 minutes? Three things that I'm doing wrong that if I just improve that, I could win.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing in your business. Too many business owners are trying to do everything in their business and they're not realizing the power of leverage. Right? They are thinking, and I see this first and foremost because our digital agencies here, this is what we do all day, every day, right? And the clear distinction that I share with everyone is, whilst we run paid advertising over every channel from TikTok to Facebook to LinkedIn to Snapchat, Pinterest, Google, etc., anywhere you can spend money online, we're able to advertise. But we don't build ads, we build businesses. So our lens in which we look at things is not about building ads or getting some great conversions. It's about how we're building the business, how are we growing commercially, right? So why I link that up is that most business owners think that they need to uncover and learn how to do Facebook ads. Why on earth would someone who wants to build a business sit down and start learning Facebook ads if they are really wanting to actually build a business, right?
Yep.
Because Facebook ads are so accessible, right? There's so many things that are accessible, right? Even to the point with content. Yep, you can get your own camera. You can set it all up. I did. I was the guy. I bought 3 bloody video cameras, HD cameras. I put a green screen in my office. I had bought a lapel and I was setting them all up and I was watching the YouTube videos, learning how to do this. And then I'd take the three cards and I'd go and create the video and I'm uploading it to YouTube and I was doing everything. So I get it, but it'll take me an entire day to film like 3 videos, film and record 3 videos.
Yeah.
If I'd have invested in a videographer, which I did at the very start of building our agencies, I hired a full-time videographer just to create content and record and so forth. I felt like I put out no content, but I put out the most content I'd ever put out. But it was a leverage. I then never had to worry about pressing play or record on a video camera.
Yeah.
And it enabled me, and this is the biggest part. It enabled me, imagine, and this is the frame that I want for people to realize, if you're currently doing tasks in your business that you know you're probably not the best person to do them, think of it like this. Again, perspectives. Imagine if you could spend 100% of your time, though, like 100% of your time working on the tasks that you know you need to be working on to move the business forward. Right?
Yep.
Unbelievable. You will open up so much more time, and it will. I know at the start it might seem a little bit slower, but when you get to your exponential curve is going to go way faster than what it would if you sort of drip feed yourself over the next 6, 12, 18 months.
Yeah, we're chatting about that earlier today. You know, we're in Arete with Andy Frisella, and I think one of the calls was about that, you know, the power of leverage. You have to see that as an investment, not as an expense. And sometimes it's hard to see the benefit right away, but we have to see it that way to be able to grow. So this is obviously a sign from the universe that we're hearing it twice from amazing MVPs, especially today.
So actually, we got an interesting comment here. I would love to address it. It said, "You're speaking from an ideal situation, though, not a startup, right?" And I love this comment for a reason, right? And it's what my brother just said. It's like looking at it as an investment. And okay, so there was this moment, we went to this event, right? And we knew we needed to do something to start moving forward. And they presented an offer, and it was money that we did not have at the moment. We could not pay it. It was a $25,000 offer, right? And we're like, we know this is going to help our business move forward. And when they pitched it, we didn't take action. And then the repitch came. And one of the things he said is like, hey, if you're using debt as leverage, right, as an investment to make more money, that's a smart debt, right? I think that concept is difficult for a lot of people to grasp, right?
It is.
And
you got to put your balls on the line, right?
Yeah.
And there's reality that this might not work for you.
Yep.
So here's my thoughts to that, because I see the question too, and thank you, Brandon. So yeah, initially you could be speaking from an ideal situation, but the reality is this. So these are the alternatives, okay? When I say imagine spending 100% of your time working on the things that you know you should, let's just assume you're an entrepreneur and you're in the startup mode. I would be expecting you to be working, 10, 12 hours a day. Okay. So during those 12 hours a day, you need to be spending time working on those things that you need to do. And the other 6 hours outside of that, from 7 p.m. till bloody 2 a.m. in the morning, you need to be working on and learning those skills then that you can get just enough until you can get more money. Or the other alternative is go and get another job so you can actually generate the income from cleaning floors to pay someone to run your social media who knows what they're doing. So it's about being able to leverage all different alternatives. Now, I totally get it because I started with $0 as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's about just going, what are you actually prepared to put in to actually get out at the back? Yeah. Even as simple as right now, you could potentially, and I'm not going to say I know what every government is providing right now from a business loans perspective, but in Australia right now, you could get some really good low interest business loans, right? Yes, it's going to require you to put some skin in the game and go and get some loans. You might only loan $20,000. That's all I put in to start our agencies, $20,000. You don't need like $100,000 or $200,000 sitting in the bank right now. You just need to go, okay, I can pay for this next month.
Yeah.
I've got this next month covered. Now I'm going to have to go and make some more money to get the next month and the next month, right? So it's scrappy, right? It does get scrappy. It's not a perfect science. But the reality is when I was in our franchise, for example, I also was building online information products. And I want to be fully transparent here. I wasn't doing it because I needed the money right at that moment, right? Because things were going really well. But this shows the work ethic that I had to put in that I want other people to adopt, or even, I know people work way harder than me, but I was getting up at 4 a.m. and I was working on information products from 4 a.m. till 9 a.m. The team would come in and I'd be in building the franchise mode from 9 p.m. till 5 p.m. The team would then go home. I'd be working from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. on information products. I'd go home, collapse into a ball, and wake up in a few hours. But I didn't do that forever, right? That was just through a period.
Yeah.
But it was what I was, admittedly now, if I look back and I was coaching myself, I would have brought in and hired more people, but I had that silly mindset that I can do everything and I should do as much as I possibly can, which was the wrong mindset, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say as soon as I heard it, I was like, don't worry about how you need to figure out HTML coding, Brett. Find someone who can do it and pay them so you can focus 100% on what you know you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So it's finding those leveraging points, right?
Yeah. I think like big time.
Maybe you don't have money to hire someone. Maybe you do a partnership, right? Maybe you hire someone part-time, or you get them in for 3 hours. Or there's ways to figure out stuff, right? And this is what it comes down to. The better you are at being able to create and do a deal, you can create things that, I could tell you deals right now that I've had with people throughout the years where you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was a thing that you could do. Neither did I till I sort of put it out and go, hey, what about this?
Yeah.
Will this work? Right?
If you never ask, you never know.
An app company. So I've got an app company, right? Do you think I know how to build apps? No idea. I've got zero idea. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I probably would have learned how to do it, right? That's just But all I did was I'm going to give 50% of this business up to someone who really knows how to build it. There we go. I've got a company that I put a couple of hours into a week, if that. But my case in point there is that's a deal that I made. I didn't own the entire race course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So most entrepreneurs, I truly feel, are better off creating a deal with someone else who has a skill set that complements them and give up a piece of the pie. And I'd much rather own a small piece of something massive than a huge piece of something really small.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like it.
Different psyche change.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like have a lot of trouble with that and getting out of their comfort area or like ideal comfort situation, right? And they're not willing to do that, right? I think, we lived it, that moment where we're like, okay, we need to put ourselves between the sword and the wall. And I think that was an expression that we said that back then because we didn't have the money. That money came out of a loan that was supposed to finance the next 8 months, while the wife was in school, right? Baby on the way. And we're like, okay, there's like, really, if this goes wrong, the whole family doesn't eat. So we have to make it happen, right? And that investment was on a coaching program, which allowed us then to acquire.
It was a turning point.
It was a turning point.
Yeah.
Like it elevated us to the point that now we had to hire a team. And then, okay, same situation happened. We don't have the money to hire a team. Like we have 30 days. Okay, but we need them, right? If not, we cannot fulfill. Well, guess what? As soon as they come on, is hands on. We gotta get the money to pay for the next month.
Yeah, well,
and go.
Actually, one of the big realizations that we had is we actually turned and we asked ourselves, like, why are we not growing? And I was like, oh, because we're in fulfillment mode. Like, we feel like we have to take care of everything, right? And I mean, we don't have all the technical abilities, so we can only do it so good, right? And thinking this way allowed us to bring people that are better than us doing those activities, and now they free our time to go and find new clients. And like you said, leverage.
It's all about leverage.
Amazing. Well, Brett, I think too, just like we're about to land this plane. This has been an absolute pleasure, man. Like, thank you so much. I know that the audience, thank you if you're watching live, if you're listening right now. This has been an amazing show, and I'm sure you can go back, re-listen, re-watch it, because there's a ton of information here that we can apply today. So I think as an action point, we have like a ton of action points, so we'll do a little summary. But I want to ask you, Brett, one last question, because we know you publish, and our life changed when we started publishing. Like, our business changed. Everything was elevated. The amount of relationship that we built has been amazing. Where would you be if you did not publish?
Where would I be if I did not publish? It's a great question. I don't know. I guess I probably don't see a reality where I'm not, to be perfectly honest. I think it was the natural progression. You know, I mean, I'm on to my 9th podcast right now. And I share that not to try and, you know, say how cool I might have 9 podcasts, but there's a lesson behind it all. Each of them had their very own purpose. You know, I've got a podcast for just fitness business owners, because I was, you know, a few years ago, I was coaching and mentoring just fitness business owners. I've got a fitness podcast. I've got a personal development podcast. You know, and it's all purely predicated around a specific, and this just really backs your narrative that, you know, content creation is absolutely important. And it's not the immediate effect that you get from it either. Yeah. Right? I got some crazy stories. I wish I had time to talk about them right now, but where someone who listened to a podcast 4 years ago and they've been a subscriber, and then now all of a sudden the world's come back around and we've come into each other's lives and crazy things have been happening. It's like, wow, all of that from a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So it's the effort that you put in, the consistent effort that you put in. And this goes back to why I think it's so important that what's that thing you do for free for the rest of your life? Like, I'd literally just record podcasts all day. It's nice, obviously, if people listen to it. But even if they don't, it feels really good just to record one, and I feel happy about that. So I'm not sitting here going, oh, this podcast needs to be listened to by 10 million people, right? Yeah. Joe Rogan did 1,000 podcasts before he got picked up. That's a lot of podcasts.
Yes.
Right? His first 300 podcasts, no one's even gone, you know, you might have gone because you're a diehard fan, but people wouldn't have even known about that back then. It's consistency, it's doing that thing that, one, you love doing, because when you love doing it, and you will naturally become the best at it that you could possibly be. And when you're the best at something that you could possibly be, that's going to be the true predicate to whether or not you're going to make it successful.
Wow. Thank you. That was awesome.
We lived it, man. I appreciate you 100%. Thank you so much for obviously the value and showing the way, because I think a lot of people need that, right? We talked about it earlier, why they're not taught at the very beginning. Well, maybe there's not enough of those coaches, right, that have lived through things that you've lived through. So I appreciate you, and hopefully we can help the audience, because it did help us personally, and that's why we love doing this thing. And
me personally, once again, I want to thank you for the challenging of
conversation.
Ideas.
Yes.
I love that, honestly. I feel like that's when people learn the most, when they find, you know, this not necessarily conflicting ideas, but maybe people that don't agree 100% with what you're having to say.
Well, there's always 3 sides to a story, right?
Yep.
Your side, my side, and then somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So
that's true.
We gotta go try it. So, Brett, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you?
You could go to brettcampbell.com.au and go click on the podcast and go check out my podcast. That's probably the best place. Or just find me on the Instagrams or Facebook, Brett Campbell Official, and connect. Drop me a DM. Tell me you've listened to the episode from here, and I'll be sure to ping you back.
Awesome. All right, Brett.
You heard it, guys.
Yeah, you heard
All right,
it.
correct.
So don't think we have 2 minutes after the show is over. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Content is Profit podcast. Please go ahead and subscribe. And also follow us on social media at BizBrosco.
That's right. And if you found this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.